Hey guys, Chris here from Carolette Miniature Horses. I want to welcome you back to day 2 of fence painting here at the farm. The project I started yesterday, painting those feedlots and what looked to be a very short amount of fencing took me all day. So I was not able to finish up yesterday. So I'm back at it today. I just got home from town. I had to run some little plants in to a friend who's going to be using them as like a planting project with some of her students. So that was always nice to, share what we have that we don't need with others. But now that I'm home, I've got my painting clothes on. I'm gonna go put my sunscreen on and trade in my ball cap for that big brim sun hat. And then I'll head down and fingers crossed, I will actually finish up this project today. And then the other thing I need to still do is scrub the water troughs. I had hoped to do that yesterday, and then painting just took so long that the horses had plenty of water for the overnight, but there's a lot of pollen and debris in those troughs, so I really want to scrub them well and refill them. So that's what I'm up to today. And again, this is day 2 of my fence painting project. One more thing I'll share with you before I head inside and do my final kind of prep to head out into the sun for the afternoon hours. I did just want to let you know that I am going to start this video off with yesterday's footage, and that way you can hopefully kind of see the progression of things as I made my way kind of around the feedlots. One thing that I did notice yesterday when I started painting was that the new fence boards, which there are several back there, they certainly soaked up the paint, but the old fence boards were really, really, really thirsty. It almost felt like when I was cleaning tack the other day, whereas like the old dry leather really wants to soak up all that oil. These old fence boards were taking a lot of paint. And I think that partly maybe what is slowing me down in this painting process. Because the boards are kind of rough and there's a lot of like texture to these old boards. It just means there are a lot more grooves and crevices and little areas that the paint needs to really soak into. And I'm finding I'm actually going back and like repainting over sections I've already painted previously because the coverage wasn't quite up to my standards. So I'm a bit of a perfectionist at some things. There's some things like keeping a house clean that I'm not so great at. I try. But when it comes to painting, this is something that I am pretty particular about. My husband does all the painting inside the house. Like I don't want to go there because he's a very careful painter as well. But we just have very different styles and approaches. So I'm going to head back out to the barn now. I'm going to finish up that feedlot, but I will first show you yesterday's footage and then show you today's footage. So hope you enjoy. I know it's a little windy. I might have to delete the audio from this little clip, but as I'm getting ready to start painting around the feedlots, I saw that Snuggles was laying down, taking a little rest, while still munching on some hay there. So I think maybe she's scratching herself right now, but I think it's so cute when they lay down, but they continue to have a little snack, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. All right guys, so before I get just too covered in paint, I wanted to say a few things. One, don't mind the sun hat. This is my husband's sun hat. I feel a little silly wearing it, but because I'm going to be outside in the full sun for many hours, not only do I have sunscreen on, but I have kind of the largest brim hat I could find. I definitely need to find myself a decent sun hat, one that's comfortable, that's got good coverage. But anyways, this is what I'm wearing today. So forgive me for the silly hat. I've got it cinched up really tight because it's breezy, and this hat has a tendency to kind of catch the wind and want to fly. But what I really wanted to do, other than just kind of moan and groan about my hat, which I'm still thankful to have, so don't get me wrong, is I want to say a little bit about what I'm painting. So a few weeks ago, man, it could have been 4 to 6 weeks ago. It's been a while. Spring has really flown around here. Time flies when you're having fun, right? we put up this new section of fence, and I'm standing right here at the corner of our back field near the water trough. The water trough is just over here behind me by the red gate. And I've got the garden back behind me. And you can see my husband started painting these garden posts black once we first put them up. And he painted the fence black, the new fence boards that tied into the garden. Well, what I'm doing today is I'm going back and I'm trying to get into like these little teeny, there's shrimp. My cats are always happy to say hi. I'm trying to get into like these really small little crevices. And you can see down below here, maybe I have to crouch down and show you. You can see down here though, where when my husband was rolling it, because that's the kind of the faster way, short of using a sprayer, which tends to waste a lot of paint. He was rolling the black paint on, but you can see the roller was not able to get into those little tight spaces. And so I'm coming back today with my little handy dandy paintbrush, and I'm actually getting into all of those little small spots. I'm also going lower around the base of the posts. You know, when he was painting the other day, the ground had not yet fully settled after putting in the new posts. And so we've given the ground time again to settle, to compact. And now I'm going to go back with my paintbrush and I'm going to try to get a little lower on the posts into those little tight areas. And then just do a little more painting, maybe of the feedlots, so that they will match and tie into this new section of fencing in the garden a little smoother. So that's what I'm up to today. I am dressed head to toe in black because black fence paint can be really messy. Well, for me at least, there's no really good way to go about doing this where you probably aren't going to come out with some paint on yourself. So it's a beautiful day though. I think it's in the 70s, so it's not too hot. There is a little breeze blowing, and I've got some painting to do. I will also say that I am choosing to start on the outside of the fence line here. The ponies are currently hanging out in the back here. And once they go into the front paddock for the day, whenever they choose to do so, I will then lock them in the barnyard or even into the ring for a little if that's where they head. And that way I can step on the inside and do a little more painting of the feedlots here without, you know, my friends coming to lend a nose or a hand. So I could see Shenanigans and Snuggles likely not getting out of this without some paint on their nose. So I'm gonna wait for them to head to the front before I go on the inside to paint. I'm just returning back to painting after a little lunch, and I'll show you where I am so far. You know, I started down on the short end, and this whole back side has been finished. And then I've done like 1.5 of the feedlots. I'm going to finish the back side of the feedlot here, and I think I will stop at the corner right here near the red tub. And that way, this last little section of fencing, oh, I don't know, I'm looking at it now and talking to you. I'll get to the corner by the red tub, I'll look at it, and then if I feel I need to, I might go ahead and just do this last section as well, all the way to the gate. And that way this whole back section will all be a little more uniform looking. I still need to go on the inside, but the horses, as you can see, are still back here grazing. I can still go inside the feedlots, but I don't want to do the side of the boards that are directly facing the horses just yet. I'll wait till they come into the front barnyard. They're bound to in a bit. Another little tip here when you're getting ready to paint is to either get your weed eater out, which I have not done, or to take your hand if you're going to do it the old-fashioned way and try to get all of this grass and, you know, the weeds and the debris, and just kind of get other things out of the way so that they don't either get painted onto the fence or kind of block and obscure your ability to get to what you're trying to paint. So I'm just, you know, kind of using my hand and breaking down these buttercups here, I'll go and pull some of them down just so they don't, you know, get in the way as I'm trying to paint that board there. So again, if you've got a weed eater, you could have buzzed through here real quick. One other tip I will share is if you were like us and you have an electric fence that you are painting near, I would highly recommend unplugging it. I did unplug ours, so you know, no worries there. But if you're trying to paint around an electrified fence, chances are pretty good it's not going to fare that well for you. So that was one of the very first things I did think to do, but I just want to share that. I had to run back inside. I forgot my paintbrush. I did put my brush in a bag or in the wrap, the plastic wrap, to keep it from drying out. There's just no sense in trying to rinse a brush just while I'm having lunch, but I also didn't want it to kind of get gooped up and dried out. This black fence paint is really thick, and I could see it really just kind of hardening and making it much more difficult to paint with. So I know at the end of the day, this paintbrush is going to be trash. It was a really cheap paintbrush. And I think I would recommend that to you if you're painting fences as well, like I am. Don't go buying an expensive brush. It's more or less going to be a throwaway. I mean, unless you're really, really dedicated and you're going to really wash it out. And some people do. I mean, when we paint inside the house, of course, we reuse brushes. We use higher quality brushes, and you know, we do wash them out. But when it comes to fence paint and sort of outdoor use, I'm kind of using and abusing this paintbrush. You know, it's got all kinds of dirt and debris. I'm going at the fence really, really hard sometimes to kind of get inside some of the knots that are in the wood, or the little, you know, cavities that are there. So the bristles are not going to be in great shape when I'm finished. And again, I'm just planning on throwing it away. But the tip was wrap it up in plastic wrap or put it in a sandwich bag if you know you're going to have to step away for a short time. So now it's still wet. I'm going to refill my container. Rather than dip my brush out of the large tub of paint, which, you know, you could do, right? You could. I am choosing to use just a really small, again, it's a throwaway, you know, it's a real thin plastic container. We've used nice little paint cups with handles before. I couldn't find any of those. But this, I figure I can just toss away when I'm finished, like my paintbrush. So some little tips there, you know, when you're working outside with this type of paint and you know things are just gonna get super grimy and gross, you know, there's no need to go with high quality, but that's just me. Perfect timing. Rocky is the last of the bunch to make their way into the barnyard and on into the ring for grazing. So I'm going to take this opportunity to close the back gate, and that way I can step inside the back field and finish painting. I have just finished painting the inside boards on the lower part of our backfield here. I'm going to give them about 15-20 minutes to dry with the warm temperature and the breeze. They should be dry pretty soon, and then I can open up the gate here and let the minis come back down. They've come to the gate a couple of times. I think they'd like to come down here, but they're currently either in the front stall or grazing out in that front paddock. So I'm back at it. I just took a little break. I went to the house and I had some more to drink and I got a little snack. And now I'm coming back out here to the feedlots. I still have some more painting to do. I'm gonna guess I've maybe done 2/3 to 3/4 of it. I've decided not to paint this little section right here by the gate. I'm gonna leave that gray until we someday, you know, do the rest of the fence, if and when, we'll see. But I am gonna go back and finish the feedlots now. This whole process, I will say, is taking a lot longer than I had expected. I have been out here since I'm gonna say 10 to 11 o'clock this morning, and it's now at least 3. I did take a little lunch break, and I just took this little kind of mid-afternoon break to rest up and get some more drink, but oh, it's been a long day of painting. Painting by brush is definitely the slow approach. As I prepare to start painting again, I just wanted to give you a little update on the ponies. You know, the minis have really either been back here in the backfield grazing today, or they've been in the run-in or the stalls, getting out of the sun and getting away from the bugs. So this seems to be their primary preference as of right now. Here you can see a bunch of lichen all along some of my fence line. You know, this particular portion of the feedlot was built quite some time ago, and these boards have been here for a long time. I will also note that this side of the board is facing north. So, you know, south is going to be that way, which is another good thing to know. Moss, and I'm guessing now lichen as well, being similarly related, they grow typically not only in damp shaded areas, but they grow often on the north side of trees and structures. And so, you know, if you're ever lost out in the woods, I was told this on a trail ride many years ago by a very, very knowledgeable person. But if you're ever lost, look for signs of moss growing on the trees, because where you see moss is indicative of northernly facing directions. So, you know, if you know your north, south, east, and west and can then locate north, you are good to go. But I wanted to show you this because I am trying to clean these boards a little. I'm not being really super, you know, diligent or careful about it, but some of these lichens in this particular area were very significant, and I just thought for sure that if I were to paint over them, that you know, the paint would likely just peel right off. So, you know, I'm using a hoof pick. I thought, oh gee, what am I going to use? Should I go get a wire brush? Where can I find a wire brush? Do we have a wire brush? And then I thought, I'm by the barn, I can find a hoof pick, and this worked pretty well. Heading back to the feedlots. Dun, 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 dun. Yesterday I was not quite able to finish painting the feedlots. This nearest side to me here, and then the short section that kind of faces the barn beside the red gate there needs to be done still. Sweetheart here is being serenaded by the mockingbird up above. I'm always amazed to listen to mockingbirds and just how many different sounds they can make. It's pretty fun. Took a little look over here to my left, and I found somebody napping in the shade. Just a little update here to show you. I am approaching the end of this project. I have sort of this right-hand side of the feedlot to do, and then the inner boards on just that one short section need to be done, and then I will be finished. As I'm preparing to open up my paint here and fill my container, Snuggles has come to the gate. She's come to cheer me on as I approach the finish line. Or maybe not. I am happy to report that our painting project is finally complete. It did take a lot longer than I had originally expected, but I was able to do a very thorough job ensuring all of the knots and crevices were covered, and I was also able to paint nice and low around the posts, getting close to the ground. You know, everything looks crisp and clean and uniform. I'm just really pleased with the end result. I would definitely say it was worth it, but it did take a very long time. But you know, these fence boards were old. Some of them were really getting dry and rough, and so it took several applications of paint in some areas, but it looks great. Because these few outermost boards are still wet, I am keeping the minis locked down in the bottom for just another 20 to 30 minutes, and then I can open the gate. But I do want to give everything a chance to dry. We don't want to have any noses bumped up against the wet paint. So yeah, one more little tip there. I wasn't going to actually let her touch it, but she did walk over, giving me some yawns. But yeah, you know, they're always inquisitive, so they're fun little guys. Young ones are always interested in what you're doing. Is it nap time, Snuggles? Nap time? We used Fence Pro latex fence paint for this project. It gave really good coverage. We've used this product before and we've always been pleased with it. Hope you've enjoyed kind of watching this very long painting event of ours, but I hope you've maybe picked up a few tips along the way. And if you are beginning to paint a project of your own, I wish you all the very best. And I think the biggest thing would be give yourself more than enough time, because if you're like me, it might take a lot longer than expected. So good luck, have fun. Thanks for checking in, and check back soon. Bye guys.